Let's just assume that we have a physical switch. It has some ports. For now, we assume that it has 3 ports. This port is configured with VLAN 20 and this one is configured with VLAN 10. This one is a trunk port. We have one host connected to this port and this one is connected to a host as well. We have our FreeBSD connected to this port. Since both are on a different VLAN, so they are totally isolated from each other, and we are going to provide different network to both of the VLANs as well. So let's say we need to provide it with class B network address, or we need to provide it an IP from class B network address, and this should have the IP address from class C 10.0/24. This is our FreeBSD. Now what I'm going to do is I'll create 2 logical interfaces, VLAN interfaces on this FreeBSD. This one is going to be part of VLAN 10 and this one is going to be part of VLAN 20. I will assign this interface an address from this network, and this interface would have an address, IP address from this network, and then I'll have DHCP configured in a way that the VLAN 10, the host connected to VLAN 10 to this switch would get the IP address from the DHCP server running for this network, and any host which is configured with VLAN 20 and wants to get the IP address from DHCP, it would get the IP address from this interface or VLAN or the DHCP server running for VLAN 20. So the way we are going to have this in our virtual environment is through open vSwitch. I'm going to create 3 tab interfaces. One is going to be in VLAN 10. Second is going to be in VLAN 20. And this third one, it would be trunk one. So I'm going to create a bridge on my machine, on my physical machine, and then assign these tab interfaces to one of these ports. This one would be, let's say, V port 1, which would be part of VLAN 10. And this one would be, let's say, V port 2, and it's going to be part of VLAN 20. This one is going to be a trunk port where I will get my DHCP connected on. So in the beginning, I'm just going to connect my FreeBSD to this port, which would be V port 3. And I'm going to then create two VLANs on FreeBSD. And this VLAN going to be VLAN 10 and this one would be VLAN 20. And then I will get my host connected to one of these ports. These are obviously going to be virtual machines. Then I'll assign the IP address from the network, from the class B network to this interface, and another IP address from the same network to this virtual machine, and then I'm going to try to ping each other and would see if the connectivity works. I'll do the same thing with this machine, and once the switch or the bridge is working properly, I'll take the static IP addresses away from both of these virtual machines and would configure DHCP server on this FreeBSD and then from there we could see that how the host, these virtual machines, would get their get the right IP addresses from this DHCP address, DHCP server. So the first thing which we need to do is install Open Virtual Switch, and we need to search for the right package. And this is the package which we need to install on our system. So apt-get install. Once the package is installed, we need to run the commands, and the command which we are going to run is show, to see if we already have some bridge. We do not have any bridge right now, and I'm going to create one, and the command is add bridge, let's say, and we need, let's say, test is the name of the bridge. If we if we run the show command again, so it shows the bridge, and there is an interface as well, and the name of the interface and the bridge is same. Now I'm going to create two tab devices. Add mode is going to be tab, and let's give it a port name. Let's give it another name, 2, and it should be 3. Now we need to add these into our bridge which we had created, and the command to get these tab interfaces added to the bridge is add port test vport 1. As I told you that we need to add it to a VLAN, so we are going to use the tag keyword along with the VLAN tag, and that is 10. We are going to do the same with port 2 for tag 20, and vport 3 isn't going to have any tag. That means it would be in trunk port. It would be configured as trunk port. So if we run the show command again, you can see the settings here. VLAN 2, VLAN 1, and trunk port is still missing, which is this. So here we have all the 3 ports in our bridge. Now I'm going to configure the virtual machine so that it gets into the right VLAN. Before we change the hardware configuration for our virtual machines, we need to bring these tab interfaces up, all 3 of them which we have created. Otherwise the virtual machines attached to them would not be able to access the network. So first we are going to do it for our FreeBSD. So if we go to the network, and there are already 2 network adapters which are configured as LOM. So I'm going to check this third one, and it is supposed to be vport 3, which is the trunk port. And the 2 virtual machines, I'm going to go with these ones, and there is already a network adapter. I'm going to edit this one and would have it on port vport 1, which is VLAN 10, and I will do the same thing to this virtual machine. Yes. So our virtual setup has been created. Now I'm going to boot the virtual machine. I'm going to boot the FreeBSD, and would create the virtual VLAN on it, virtual interface for the VLAN 10 and for the VLAN 20. let me just stop the video until it boots. So system has been booted. Let's just SSH into it. And since we are going to make some changes into rc.conf file, we need root privileges. Let me show you the interfaces which this machine has. So it has 3 interfaces. These EM1 and EM0 has been cloned together, and a logical lag interface has been made. So now we are going to make use of this interface and would create 2 logical interfaces, one for VLAN 10 and one for VLAN 20, and both are going to be on separate networks. So rc.conf file, we need to make sure that this EM2 is up as well, and the clone interfaces, we are going to add 2 interfaces, one for VLAN 10 and one for VLAN 20. Then we are going to assign the IP addresses. If config VLAN 10 inet, and we are going to give it the IP address from a network which is from the class B network. It has to be netmask 255.255.0.0, and VLAN is 10 and VLAN dev is EM2. We would have similar for VLAN 20, and the IP is going to be from class C network. Subnet mask is going to be changed, and it's 24-bit network. VLAN 20, and that's it. I think we are good to go now, and we can restart the inet service. Not inet service, but netif service. So it has created 2 interfaces, logical interfaces, and each of them has been assigned with the right IP address. Let's just ping them and see if we get the response. We don't get the response here. What about this VLAN 20? Oh, it pings, but VLAN 10 doesn't ping. I mean the interface, the logical interface for VLAN 10. Take a look at etc.conf again if we have made any mistake. I think we are pretty good. It doesn't show any mistake here. Let's just reboot the system and see if we still have this problem. But before we do that, let's try to restart the service once again and restart the routing service as well. So let's see what routes we have. We have a route for this one. Yeah, we have a route for this one, and we do have a route for this one. VLAN 20, VLAN 10, both are up. Let's just ping once again and see if we are lucky to get any response. No, we don't. But the VLAN 20, it gives us the response. Let's just reboot the system and see what happens. System is up again, so let's just get into it via SSH, do the sudo, and let's ping 172.16.0.1. Oh, it pings now. And what about the IP address of the VLAN 20. Yeah, it pings as well. So I'm not sure what the problem was, but restarting the service should have helped us, and there was no need to restart the service, restart the whole system. Let's just search for the DHCP package now, since we are going to configure DHCP service for both of our VLANs. I think we need to search for DHCPs only, and this is the package which we need to install. So let's just install it. Yes, so let's just go into the directory where DHCP has its configuration file, and it has a default file which we are going to use to copy some lines, and we are going to move it to another name, or we are going to take its backup, and we are going to create our own DHCP file. Yes, so we are going to configure the DHCP for our subnet, which is from class B network, and the address is 192.172.16.0.0, and net mask is 16-bit, which is 255.255.0.0, and we are going to change the domain name for it, and we are going to assign it VLAN20.com, VLAN10.com. And we do not have any DNS server configured at the moment, but we have plans of configuring it, and I'm going to give it a public DNS server as well. So default lease time, max lease time, and since we aren't configuring any DNS server, so skip this for now, and now we are going to give it the range for the DHCP service: 16.0.20 from 0.20 to 10.16.255.254 till, let's say, 250. So that's its range, and now we need to have the default routers for it. We can enter a fully qualified domain name here for our router, and we could have used fully qualified domain name for the DNS server, but let's just stick with the IP for now. So we are going to close the braces now, and we are going to save the file, but we aren't going to start the service now because we have another subnet which we need to configure, and that is for VLAN 20 with class B address. With class C network, let's just make a command here: VLAN 20. I'm going to copy paste the same settings, and I'm going to make some changes to it. The network address would be 192.168.10.0 along with 24 bits of network address. So it's going to be like this. VLAN is going to be 20. The domain name server would be 192.168.0.1, which is not in place at the moment, but we are going to configure a DNS server later on FreeBSD as well, on FreeBSD. range is going to be from 192.168.10. Let's say 20 to 192.168.10.250, and default router is going to be the DHCP itself. We haven't configured any routing at the moment, but I have plans of configuring the routing so that both the VLANs or both the IPs from different network addresses could ping each other. So we are pretty much done now, and now we are going to start the service. And the command, before we run the command, we actually have to make changes into our rc.conf. And let's just make a note here, DHCP service, and it would be DHCP d_enable with yes, and then DHCP d_interfaces, which is going to be VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. I hope it would work. Let's just start the service, and the name of the service is isc.dhcpd start, and it has started. So let's check what we have in this database file. So it doesn't have anything at the moment. And now I'm going to start the virtual machine. I'm just rebooting this virtual machine, and I'm going to reboot the other virtual machine as well. These are the CentOS virtual machines, and when they would come up, I hope it would have gotten the IP from DHCP server which we have configured. And let's just check if it has gotten any IP, and yes, it does. It shows us the IP from VLAN 10, and let's check what we have gotten here, and it shows us the IP address from class C network which we configured for VLAN 20. So if we check the resolve.conf, what we have gotten there, and here we go, it has the IP address of the FreeBSD interface, the logical interface we assigned to VLAN 10, and it has also gotten the public DNS address which we configured in our DHCP service. Let's just go into the service and DHCP server and see what we have in our databases file. So here it shows you that VM1 has gotten this IP address. I mean, it shows you the lease, and it has its hardware address here as well, and it shows us VM2 which has gotten this address. We can make the static entries as well, and the way to do that is to enter into the same configuration file, and let's say host VM2, and we need to have its hardware address, Ethernet, which I do not remember, and I'm going to see it from here, from the databases file which we have. So VM2 has the hardware address which is this. Let's just copy it. And fixed address let's give it address which is 192.168.10.100 or 11, and close the braces, save the file and just restart the service. It has some error, and the error, I haven't entered the right spellings. It says Ethernet hardware. I missed a D. Let's just restart and let's go to our VM2. It has gotten 10.20 IP address. I'm going to get rid of it by IP ETH00 or if config ETH00. If I check the IP address, it doesn't have it. Let's just start the DHCP process again for it, and let's see if we get the new IP. And here we go, we have gotten 10.11 IP address. But if you try to ping the machine on the other VLAN, we won't be able to do that. 172.16.0.1, we can ping it actually. This is the IP address of our FreeBSD. So if we ping the virtual machine, which is VM1, we can't ping it. And from our FreeBSD, we should be able to ping both the virtual machines on VLAN 1 and VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. And the IP address which we have assigned to it is 10.11. We can ping it, and the virtual machine which has the IP address from class B network, we can't ping it because it has 0.10 address, I guess, or maybe not 10. Let me see what address it has gotten. It has 0.20. Yeah, we can ping it. We can ping from FreeBSD to both the machines on our different VLANs, and the VLAN and the machines on VLANs could ping the IP address of the gateway or IP address assigned to the FreeBSD logical interface for the two VLANs. So if I ping 192.168.10.1, it should respond, and yes, it is responding. But 10.11, which is the IP address of VM2, it shouldn't respond. And we are going to configure the routing now. Alright, so in order to configure the routing between the two VLANs, which are configured with different network addresses, we need to enable the routing. We need to enable the gateway role, which we can do it with this line, and we are going to restart our service. But before I do that, I want to show you that we cannot ping the IP address which is assigned to VM1. So let's just restart the net if service, and we might have to restart the routing service. Let's wait and see. Yeah, and if we restart the routing service, and here we go. The moment we have restarted the routing service, it is able to ping the machine on the other network and VLAN. And if we check this, if we try to ping the VM2 from VM1, and the IP, if you remember, the IP address which we gave to it was 10.11, and we can ping it, both of them. So that's how the routing between the two different VLANs, which are configured with different network addresses, could be enabled.